Hello, and thanks for joining me. In this video, we're going to be looking at how to create a SchoolCity assessment that is administered online. So you can access the assessment creation menu here on the Create Assessments flip card by clicking once and flipping it over. You'll see the different types of assessments listed here, or you can access it from the waffle by clicking Assessments, and then you would choose Create Assessment. And then you will again see the drop down of the different types of assessments that are available. If you are creating an online assessment from the item bank, you would say item bank assessment. You must give your assessment a completely unique name. Calling mine something strange here, but obviously you would want to call yours something related to your subject and content. You choose a subject. And then for teacher purposes, everything else down here can be left as is. You can navigate at the bottom of the screen using the Next button, or you can simply click the next step in the test creation wizard that you see at the top of the screen. So next we're moving to the filter step. These are just your standards. Because I chose to create a math test, I am seeing the grade levels and math standards down here. Note that I could add a subject. If I wanted to add a subject, I would say I want to add Georgia State Standards. For example, I could choose ELA, and then I could toggle back and forth between math and ELA and include questions from multiple disciplines on one assessment. I'm just going to stay in math. I'm going to go to grade 3. Notice in my drop down then, I can choose, let's say, numbers and operations in base 10. Let's get this standard, and then we'll do some O&A standards, 1 and 2. All right, when I've chosen all the standards that I want, I'll say next. Now, SchoolCity is going to pull all questions that match my standards from the existing item banks, which are the HMH or Houghton Mifflin item banks, and anything from within banks that have been created by district users such as myself or your content specialist. If you would like to filter the bank, you do have a blue button that says Show and Hide Filters. Once that appears, you can see that it's already filtered by item bank. There's 65 items in the HMH bank, but there's more in the Elementary Common Assessment bank. I can see the interim bank, but just FYI, you are not able to see that. And then Brian Lack has some items here in the EIP Big 10 and 20 bank that you also have access to. By going to the gear, you are able to filter with additional criteria. So I could say I want to filter by item type, I want to filter by tag. Sometimes that's useful if the person who created the bank has tagged the items specifically. You can also add blooms or DOK, whatever it is you like. Say update, and then those filters are going to appear on your screen, and you can toggle back and forth and say, you know, I really just want some higher level questions. So let me go to our level 3 right here for DOK. It'll take just a moment to think about it, and then it's going to do some spinning. We just need to be patient with it. And so it's going to filter down to just those 3 items right there. So now I can take a look at them, and then I can come in and select. Notice to the left-hand side of the screen that it's keeping a running tally of how many questions have been selected for each standard. So that's good to know so that you kind of balance out your assessment. I'm going to continue for time purposes. Obviously, most of the time you would choose more than 3 questions, but I'm going to go ahead and say next. And then I'm going to see my 3 items. They are constructed response items. So the point values are already set, but I could come in and change the rubric multiplier, and then that would change the point value as well if I wanted to do that. On multiple choice items, you do have the option to change the point value if you don't like the point value that is already assigned to them. If you wanted to change the order of questions, you do have the order items and add instructions button right here that you can click, and then these items can be dragged and dropped around into a different order. And then you would say exit full screen after saving. I'm going to go ahead and say next. On this step, you are choosing how your assessment will be scored. So you're determining performance levels and what is your top level, next, and so on. The easiest way to do this is to always select the blue button and say load from available templates. This is going to show you the templates that have already been built. One of your main determinations is how many performance level groups you want your students to be sorted into. This first template right here sorts your students into 3 performance bands, and the second template sorts them into 4 performance bands. So you can apply any of these templates. Just please do not use anything that says F and P at the front of it. That's going to skew your results dramatically. So we're going to go out from the name of the profile and say apply. And then you'll get to see what that profile looks like. But importantly, you can now make changes to this. If you want to say, I really want 95 to be exceeding, then you can definitely change that. I want 75 to be proficient. You have control over this. Just keep in mind that for my test of 3 questions, this isn't really going to work. So you do need to keep in mind how many questions are on a test, and can a student actually even score a 95 based upon the number of questions that are available. All right, we're going to move on to next. And this is the last step of the test. This is where you're going to set your administration window. It defaults to about 1 month, but you can definitely come in and change it. It can be extended at a later time, but sometimes it's just easier to go ahead and change the administration window now and say apply. By default, this test, because it is an item-based test, can be delivered online. SchoolCity is also going to make a paper copy of it and offer you the option to scan it on the large scanners that are in your building. If you'd like to scan on a Chromebook, you can also select GradeCam and make that an option. However, most people are going to deliver an item-based test online using Chromebooks or other student devices. You could add a rubric here if you wanted to do that. Once I click on that, I could choose the item I want to add the rubric for, expand that, and then it gives me a chance to upload the rubric that I want for that particular thing. And I can turn that off if I do not want a rubric. One of the things you do want to look at are the online settings. So I'm going to show those, and notice it expands a lot of different options here, and you can see all of our district default selections. The time limit is 1 hour and 30 minutes. You can definitely change that right here by bumping it up if you want to do that. Let's make it 2 hours and a half instead. Or you could simply toggle this yes to a no, and you can turn the timer completely off. You can also choose the time you want the test to be made available to students. Many of our schools like to change the 5 p.m. because we're not in school at that time. So if I were at a middle school, I might change it to 4 p.m. If I were at an elementary school, I might change it to 3 or 2, depending on what time school ended. And then you can also select and deselect specific days of the week that you want or do not want the test to be available. Auto reactivation is a new feature that is very useful. It means that if a student X's out up here in the corner and inappropriately leaves the test, you do not have to go back in and reactivate the student. You will be able to simply have them log back into SchoolCity through ClassLink, and the test will still be available to them. You have a lot of control over what you want students to be able to see. Do you want them to see the correct answer? Do you want them to see the standards? And then do you want those standards, those items on the test to be grouped by standard? Selecting all of these boxes gives students a lot of information about the test they've just taken when they log into their student portal. If you take all of these selections away, then a student is only going to see their percentage score and nothing more. You can remove or add actually the timer to a student's screen. You can randomize the answer choices and you can randomize items. Obviously, answer choices only applies to question types that have answer choices. You can display a thermometer at the end of the test to show students their performance level. You can add calculators. Notice we've by default added the elementary equation editor. You can change that and make it a more advanced editor. You can add media here for students to consume. There's a translator, and then getting on down here to the bottom, we have some default selections that should mirror your Georgia Milestones test, your answer eliminator, highlighter, line reader, notes are all available to you there. And then as we scroll on down, Zoom is also available. There are many other options you can see there that you can add to a test as accommodations, but most of those are things that you may want to only add as accommodation for select students, and this is not the place to do that. You'll actually do that after you've activated the test for your students. So after I've looked all this over, I come down to the bottom, class roster and normal. Those are all bubble sheet options, and this is an online test, so we really don't need to worry about that. And you'll notice at the very bottom, I have an option to make this a personalized review assignment. That means that I would make resources available to my students who did not master particular standards, and I would go ahead and choose those resources now, and then SchoolCity would deliver the resources to those students based upon their performance on the test. I'm not going to click there and go into detail about the PRA assessment in this video, just for time purposes, but you will note that there is a PRA document linked also, and you can review that to see the process for turning your assessment into a personalized review assignment. Once I'm happy with everything that I've done, I can save and close and then just come back and work on it later or preview it later to make sure that I have everything I need. But if I'm certain that everything is the way I want it, I'll simply come down to the bottom and say publish. And again, we practice patience. And then when you see this pop-up screen, simply say, no, thank you, I'm done. Your assessment is going to appear in your assessment list, and it's going to automatically default you to your assessment list when you complete and hit publish. You'll notice that it defaulted me to the district tab because that is my home since I'm a district user. You will be defaulted to the tab that says My Assessments, and you will see your assessment in the list at the bottom down here. Thanks for watching.